everyone's attention, please. Thank you. Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the International Business Council of Australia to an evening celebrating the International Business Council Awards Gala 2021. Myself, Dr. Vidhu, Secretary General for IBC, and also the MC for tonight's event. Amongst us tonight, we have some very eminent guests, business leaders, successful entrepreneurs, some upcoming and inspiring professionals. I'm grateful to one and all who have given up their precious time to join us tonight to celebrate the achievements of some business professionals who have excelled in their own fields and made India and Australia very proud. I welcome you all to this very prestigious event. And now I will commence the proceedings of the evening by inviting on stage Dr. Dilawar Singh, President, International Business Council of Australia, to address the gathering with his opening remarks. Let us all put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Singh to say a few words.
Good evening to all. I welcome you all for this gala dinner and international awards. We started this International Business Council a couple of years ago, but unfortunately we have faced COVID and a lot of lockdowns, but we couldn't do much functions. But the first function we have done 2 years ago in Indian Consulate, and October 2019. After that, we have so many events online. This is our first event, that's one, and also I would say this is the first awards night we are doing here. We have the 8 categories of the awards. Before I go to that will be handled by Khan and Guru. I want to introduce this International Business Council of Australia. So this is found here in Perth. We have the headquarters in Perth, and most of the members right now from Perth, but we have the members in India, in Eastern States, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, and also we have the members in UAE also. So it is expanding. It is not very big organization right now, but we hope in few years' time we will grow like any other big organization with the support of the community here in Perth, as well as all over in Australia, as well as overseas. Also, we have got a small chapter in India. Mr. Bhatnagar on the screen is our president there, and we have the committee there in India. So this is just a beginning of this organization, and we want your cooperation to expand from here. And also, those are not the members yet. We welcome them to become the member. And we have the categories of the membership. Individual member, we have got the life member, then we have got the corporate member, we have got the this association and other community members. So you can choose your membership. And right now I want to announce that for the life membership, we are discounted the fees of the life membership from $500 to $250. The individual membership is $100 per year per person. But if you do life membership in 2.5 years only, you will recover that annual membership cost. So this is my few words, and I welcome you all. And now hand over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Dilawar. Moving on, I would like to now welcome Mr. Naresh Sharma, Commercial Consul from the Consulate General of India in Perth. We are very honored with his presence tonight at the IBC Awards and Gala. Could I please request Mr. Sharma to come on the stage and please say a few words.
Thank you, Vidhu. Good evening. I am Naresh Sharma. I am Commercial Counsel at the Indian Consulate. I am very recently I have arrived 2 months ago. I was in Brazil earlier, and I am trying to understand things here. And, this event, I welcome you all here, and this event is absolutely delightful for me. And this type of events, they encourage people, encourage businessmen, they encourage trade between various countries, between India and Australia as well as other countries. And to honor the upcoming businessmen, it's a great opportunity here. So I congratulate all the winners who will be awarded. And thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naresh ji. Thank you, Naresh ji. And I would now like to invite Mr. Ian, the Consul General of Mauritius, to please come on the stage and say a few words.
Thank you very much. I wasn't expecting to speak. My name's Ian Whittaker. I'm the Honorary Consul for Mauritius in Western Australia. I'd just like to endorse the remarks of those who spoke before me and welcome you all here, and congratulate in advance the winners of the awards here tonight. We're gathered to award, and I hope you all enjoy yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ian. I do have a very special invited guest on my list, but we're still waiting for her to arrive. So in the meantime, moving on and utilizing the time in the best possible way, I would like to invite once again Dr. Dilaver. He's got a presentation for all of us. But before I invite him, I would, yes, you do know him as the president for the International Business Council, but a little bit more about the very, very good work that he's done in his own field. I'm just going to read out a little bit of Dr. Dilaver's profile. Sun Brilliance Limited, promoted and owned by Dr. Dilaver Singh, is developing a 310,000 TPA green hydrogen and 800,000 TPA green ammonia project at Karatha, Western Australia, with an estimated project cost of $10.65 billion. Dr. Dilaver Singh is a well-known solar energy and green hydrogen expert. Dr. Singh has over 40 years of experience in the field of sustainable energy industry. He possesses a PhD in solar energy from the Indian Institute of Technology in New Delhi. His areas of specialization include solar PV, solar thermal, and wind energy. Dr. Singh was conferred the title Adjunct Professor in 2007 in recognition of his contribution to Murdoch University, Perth, Western Australia. For 5 consecutive terms, he was the president of Australia-India Chamber of Commerce, and he's also the founder of Hindi Samaj of Western Australia. Dr. Dilaver Singh completed several consultancy projects for UNDP, UNECAP, UNIDO, and UNESCO in developing countries. He represented Australia on IEA Task 8 and delivered keynote addresses in the World Renewable Energy Congresses and the World Solar Congresses, and participated in international panel discussions. He has more than 70 publications to his credit in reputable international journals. Dr. Singh was awarded the prestigious UNESCO Young Scientist Award in 1988 for his outstanding contribution in the field of renewable energy. Dr. Singh has initiated a $100 million multicultural tourist complex project in Perth, which will encompass the Grand Shriram Temple, Yoga and Meditation Center. The multicultural tourist complex will attract hundreds of thousands of tourists every year from all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Tilawar one more time on the stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vidhi, for this introduction. Actually, I'm taking the place of this friend, Senator. She just arrived. After me, I think she will take a chance to speak. This today's topic, she mentioned about my expertise. My expertise in solar energy, and last my whole career devoted to solar energy. And now I am involved in green hydrogen project, converting solar and wind power into splitting the water and converting to the hydrogen. That is the project my company is doing in Karatha. That is my background. I selected the topic according to that for this presentation here. This, there will be some benefit to the audience here tonight about the electric vehicles and the hydrogen vehicles. So this is very relevant topic. I will go through that. So this way here, if you see itself, this zero emission. You have the hydrogen vehicles, you have the zero emission. What comes out as a waste, this comes out of water. First, we split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Then you again put that into your car, and then you take the oxygen from the atmosphere, and again you make the water. So that is the waste coming out from there. There is no emission, zero emission. Okay. So this slide shows about there are three revolutions we have seen in the energy sectors. The first, we found the coal. Earlier we were using the wood for various applications, but we found the coal 300 years ago, and all our transportation, then electricity started coming out from coal. So that was the first revolution. After that, we found the oil and gas. The gas found recently in less than 100 years. Maybe 60, 70 years. And what the problem with these two sources of energy? Yes, we have modernized our world, and we have seen all this, our vehicles and all these aeroplanes, shippings, and all those things based on the running on the oil fossil fuel. But the problem with that is produce the pollution. And if you see the example of a car, we only consume only 20% of the fuel in it. Rest 80% coming the carbon dioxide due to this less efficiency of the car. So now the third revolution in the sector of energy we are now facing last 10 years or 15 years. We have seen the renewable energy. It is solar and wind. So that is taking place right now, and it is going a big way. Earlier we thinking it's all solar panel, and still we see the solar panel on the roof. You have seen the big solar farm also in gigawatt capacity. So those are happening now and transforming our energy sector also in energy community. The good thing about the solar and wind energy, there is no pollution there when you use them. There is still some pollution when you produce it. The solar panel you produce the silicon, all those things. But ultimately, you want to clean your roads, there is no pollution in the cities, then you have to use the electric vehicles, or now they are talking the hydrogen vehicles, they are very new. So if you lot of people they don't know. So here this is the example of some graphs. You see the first one on the top. This is our current vehicles, our cars, IC cars. We have the highest pollution. And you see that in the bottom, this is the fuel cell vehicle. Fuel cell vehicle means hydrogen vehicle. On top of that, this is the ethanol, gasoline, and all this. And there is this battery-powered vehicles comes there in the third of the bottom. Still, battery-powered vehicles have some promises. So you see this the type of vehicles. So generally, we divide the vehicles into four types. The first one is the internal combustion, what we use right now. Then we have got the battery powered, and then we have the battery powered hybrid vehicles, and then we have the hydrogen gas fuel cell vehicles. The IC parts only 20%, S 25%, now the parts comes. 75 to 80% is the pollution they are producing. Now, the carbon dioxide and other toxic gases coming out from there. This is they have reached their limit. You can't increase their efficiency. They are the maximum limit. Number two, battery powered vehicles, they are very good. Efficiency 80 to 90%, and the carbon dioxide comes to 20 to 20%. And they further they will try to increase efficiency. They are the limit also. That maximum 90%. Then you have got a hybrid vehicle, you use a petrol and then the battery in there. So those vehicles also put on the road using the hybrid. Then third one, the hydrogen gas vehicles, their efficiency right now 60%. What happens in the fuel cell in the car? You see the electric car, there's a lot of batteries there in the bottom. There. But in the hydrogen car, there's a fuel cell device that produces the electricity in the car itself. There is no battery, but there is a device called a fuel cell, and it produces a battery. When you split the water, you split the water by using the electrolyzer. And fuel cell is the opposite to that one. The electrolyzer, you split the water, and fuel cell combine the hydrogen and oxygen and produce the water back. What water you have used for producing the hydrogen gas, the same water will be covered from the fuel cells. Okay. So there the right now efficiency only 60%, but you will see the future efficiency will go up to 90%. That is the chance. It will be very hard for the other vehicles. Okay. Let's see this guy. So he is the originator of the electric car. Now you see all the Tesla, bus. And you have seen the car going to space also. We have put a car in the space also. Okay, this is the electric car. You see the bottom, the white boxes. They are the battery there. And battery size is small. There are 7,000 batteries in this car. And also for the battery, when you charge it, they can get Houston. Here in this car, there is a device that battery cools down. There is less risk of casting the battery. This is the hydrogen car. This is the same car. It is a hydrogen car, also an electric car. But instead of having the batteries, it has a fuel cell for producing the electricity inside in the car. You will see the some cylinders here. Those cylinders are the hydrogen cylinders. So we put the hydrogen into it, and the fuel cell take the oxygen from the atmosphere and produce the electricity. And the only in the form of the water. This is the hydrogen. Hydrogen is not a new. They are using hydrogen for a number of hundred of years. And our this Earth's mass has got a 75% of the water. Water has a hydrogen and oxygen. We have plenty of fuel source in comparison to oil and coal and other things. We only require some electricity to produce it. It is itself not as a fuel, but you have to make it a fuel by using the electricity to split the water into electricity, hydrogen and oxygen. If you see the color of the there is no color, and there is no odor also. If you open your when you see the hydrogen coming out, you can't recognize anything in your cook stove you open. The dangerous to use in the cook stove. And also, right now there is no appliances which can use it directly hydrogen. Hydrogen in terms of the calorific value about 3 times of the natural gas. It has plenty of energy inside. Okay. Applications. So first, this is the Toyota Mirai car that is available. They were also here display. Few car Acto has got a couple of parts here in parts in Jeddah Port, and they are running on the demonstration. And also, this is the only company Acto here they are producing the hydrogen right now from solar. They have put the solar panels on the roof. And they are doing the electrolyzer and producing the hydrogen. You have seen another car that is Hyundai SUV. First car in 1 kilogram of hydrogen, it runs 116 kilometers in 1 kilogram of hydrogen. So it is so fuel efficient. Gram of hydrogen inside. Total Mirai got the 5 kilograms inside. That's the range, depending on how much it is, how big this is. And the buses there, hydrogen. Also here, what the people knows in part, we had the 3 hydrogen buses running here 12 years ago. For them in the city. Hydrogen buses running here. We have seen the train running in Germany. But a lot of trains also now in India, they are taking the lead also. They are putting a lot of fuel cells in trains now in India. And now this is Airbus. They are putting a hub in Germany in Hamburg, and here they will use only hydrogen airplanes. If you know, one the maximum right now all this pollution coming in the cities from the cars, but in the space also. These aeroplanes, they are also producing a lot of carbon dioxide, which we don't see here. Okay, so this type we can make a hydrogen from natural gas and burning it. We can do from solar, we can do from wind, geothermal, biomass, nuclear, fossil fuel, or electricity. And this is a different way of doing it. Yeah, there are generally 3 types of hydrogen. First one is gray hydrogen. For the natural gas, is the CH4, methane. What is we use at home? We have seen that it has when you produce the hydrogen from there, it gives you the amount of 10 kilogram of carbon dioxide. 1 kilogram of hydrogen gives you 10 kilogram of carbon dioxide. So it is not pollution, it is not a pollution. The second one is blue hydrogen. The same from natural gas, you can make the blue hydrogen. But the difference is that you have to capture the carbon from it. And then you have to store that carbon somewhere. So that technology up, and some companies already have started doing that. But still the carbon is there, you have to contain somewhere, you have to make keep it somewhere. Is not a disappear somewhere. Then, in the case of the green hydrogen, produced from the solar and wind and geothermal like that, that's why they call that green hydrogen. There is no pollution in it. Okay, this is an example. Somebody asked what's the cost of running a hydrogen car. You see that in Australia, generally we are running 30,200 kilometers per year car. And in that's the 10.8 liter per 100 kilometers. So that cost us about $2,030 per year at the price of $1.40. But right now we have seen that petrol from the price gone $1.70, more than that. You can save use more money going to it about $2,300 per year on that. If you have a hydrogen car, it takes only 0.8 kilogram of hydrogen for running 100 kilometers. And that cost us with the cost today is $15 per kilogram. That's cost for $1,600. So that is right now. But if you see in the future, I give the example for my manager. This cost will be below just around $4 or so. You can buy the hydrogen $4 or so. Yeah. If you see how much will be the saving if you use the hydrogen, there is no pollution at all. That's right. Okay, this is some example. What is the cost compare the cost to the green hydrogen? This is some of the production cost for the large plants. Just like our plants, instead of $2.5 to $4.6, and from the this blue hydrogen, the cost about. But if you see the future by 2050, the cost of the green hydrogen will be less than the cost of the blue hydrogen. This is the, I think this is the last one. This is the very lightweight hydrogen, and also some class water consumption, some class happens in the car. So there's some confusion around the hydrogen pump and the hydrogen gas. So it is two different things. It is very lightweight, and when something happen or some leakage happen or may happen, it is very safe right now, but it can happen. So it is very lightweight, it goes out immediately. And any blast happens, it happens outside of the car. There is no danger to the passenger. But if you see your gas car, if any blast happens, so that is not that lightweight, all the cars runs. And that may be danger for the passenger itself. So that is the difference in hydrogen and electric cars. If it takes a less space in the generate with no greenhouse gases, it costs less. For this inside only few cylinder of the gases. It will cost less. And also we require less when to use energy and takes less time to refill. Just like the natural gas you can fill your tank in few minutes. That's good. Okay, this is some painting here. The green hydrogen and okay, so this was my presentation. I think. Anybody has any question?
Hello, everybody. I would like to congratulate Dr. Dilawar Singh for such a wonderful and well-informed presentation. It's a very new field, and I understand most of the people may not have much idea about this. But as you mentioned, that they can make hydrogen from, if I'm right, and it's a question of what carbon dioxide emission takes place. And I think that process is called CCH, that CCS. So that is carbon captured and storage. So my only question is that my awareness is that Western Australia has got a low grade of a coal, which is near Julian Bay, I suppose so. And can that low grade coal be utilized in the production of hydrogen?
Yes, that is a very good question. And the answer is yes, you can use the coal, but you have to produce a lot of carbon dioxide. There's a big issue on that. So I give the example. The Mitsubishi, they were doing a project in Victoria for converting black coal into hydrogen gas. But when they found the fact how much carbon dioxide they will produce, they have scrapped that project. So now nobody is talking about the hydrogen from coal. So only they are talking about the hydrogen from natural gas and from green energy source like solar and wind. Thank you very much. And I will hand over.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dilawar. He's always got so much of information to share. Each time I have attended his presentation, excellent knowledge I think he has. Thank you once again. And I would now like to invite Ms. Louise Pratt, an Australian politician who has been a senator for West Australia since 2016 and previously from 2008 to 2014. She's a member of the Labour Party and served as a member of the West Australian Legislative Council from 2001 to 2007. Louise is now the Shadow Assistant Minister for Manufacturing. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome Louise Pratt to say a few words.
Thank you. It's a great privilege to be able to join with you all this evening. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the First Nations people, the Whadjuk Noongar people, whose nation is here along the Swan River, and a long way north and a long way south, and it's an honour to be on Noongar country. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Ian Whitaker, the Honorary Consul General of Mauritius, Mr. Naresh Sharma, the Consul Head for the Consulate General of India of Perth, Dr. Dilwar Singh, President of the International Business Council, and Dr. Vidhu Sharma, the Secretary of the International Business Council. So, federal politics is a moving beast, and too often politicians, we're not given the opportunity to reflect upon Australia's place in the international community. It's a little bit too much of that sometimes, done too quickly. But I'll be cautious about my remarks, but also hopefully ambitious for our relationships and our nation. Am I echoing too much? Can you hear me clearly enough? I feel like this is a karaoke stage. Our world is changing really fast. Our region, the Indo-Pacific region, we know we're experiencing accelerating growth that's unmatched anywhere else in the world. At the same time, our region has changing security dynamics. So as you bring these things together along with the need for something like global zero in emissions, we know that there are changing opportunities and risks for all of us. You know, China's been predominant in the region. India has risen significantly, but it's facing challenges now in its growth. And Indonesia will be a big power. This means we need to think deeply in our international relations and as a community about our place in both the region and the world. How do we structure, for example, our post-COVID economy to leverage Australia's unique industrial and commercial opportunities? How do we navigate multipolar, regional, global power dynamics in a way that keeps Australians safe, as well as growing our economic prosperity and our business and community ties with our neighbours? How do we diversify what we export? And how do we advance our economic interests while managing strategic risk? So you will all have noted that China has dominated Australia's foreign policy debate and our media coverage. And of course, here in WA and for the nation, it's the major buyer of our exports. But as we see our strategic landscape change, we need to move through what that means for our economy too. And that means a great many things at the same time as, for example, we look to move to a global emission zero target. And if COVID has shown us anything, it has shown us that Australia can and should be a country that makes things, including the renewable energy of the future for the region. We've put for a long time our economic prosperity in the basket of exporting overseas minerals and agricultural products that are largely unprocessed, without much value adding. But now we see a global demand and accountability on Australia, where we've lagged behind by being one of the most energy intensive nations in the world. With lots of coal and gas, our emissions per head of population are among the highest in the world, and for the West Australian population, perhaps the very highest in the world. And this means we've got to, over time, shift our economic influence and priorities in the region and in our economy here in Australia. We've seen, because of the fact that we've been shipping exports out, taking them overseas without processing, we've seen our economy become de-industrialised. And that's hollowed out many of our communities and suburbs that previously would have spent time making things. That's not a sustainable position for an advanced economy like Australia. We can't be the 8th richest economy per capita, but we rank 86th in the world for economic complexity as far as the technology and difficulties of things we do. So we want to shape the region that we want in our global ties and our diplomatic ties, as well as change our economic relationships and emphasis. We need our governments to talk less and do more. And I have to say, regrettably, I believe we have a Prime Minister who looks at his own political advantage rather than the national interest, and has been out to score points politically, sometimes in ways that undermine our national interests. The most recent example we can all identify is a flashy announcement over nuclear submarines. An announcement that has blown Australia's trade negotiations with the European Union and has got people in the region questioning, if you like, the fact that we need to stay an independent force that works with the region rather than overemphasising our relationship with the US and the UK. So we've got to take the politics and the pizzazz, if you like, out of that and get down to what's in the strategic interest of our country. So, for example, deepening our relationship with India in the region will be critical. As a pillar, Australia, India, we need to be strong pillars in the region that we want to help shape. A region where outcomes are not determined by military strength and power, but also by mutual interests and strong institutions and strong relationships that we navigate to the mutual benefit of the region. So in our Indian Ocean territories, for example, we've got 2.5 billion people living here, an average age that's under 30. And this region is central to Australia's prosperity. So while there might be some disruption going on at the moment, we also know that there are great opportunities. We know, for example, that India is charting a course maximising its own strategic security and its interests that it shares with other nations. It's involved in strengthening the architecture of institutions in its own country and in the region to provide benefits to its citizens, and that is a shared objective with Australia. Australia, as part of these institutions, we've got to look to playing a real role in getting to global zero emissions. And renewable exports from Australia will play an important global role in serving the interests of those 2.5 billion people in the Indian Ocean region. And we're here together in this room tonight because we know that our trade relationships, as well as the cultural diaspora that come from other nations, and are now Australian citizens is very much part of unlocking that economic potential here in Australia and in our region. Our own Labor leader, Anthony Albanese, announced a plan to rebuild and modernise the Australian economy, with Australian manufacturing and buying Australian made being a key part of that. But that is with a view to building on our strengths to take them overseas. We want to see a future where we make things in Australia again. The Grattan Institute told the Senate in a submission about Australian manufacturing, part of what they said is also that a gas-fired recovery to manufacturing in Australia is no longer viable. Now, that's not so much the case for Western Australia, where we have more reliable gas supplies, but it does emphasise the need for our nation to focus on things like hydrogen, focus on solar power and batteries. And what's more, we know gas is a fossil fuel, and part of what we need to see in the world is a global, ambitious target for the benefit of our climate. This means Australia also needs to look to being a leader in materials technologies that can help our region also transform their own economies. In cold hard numbers, this means the Australian Conservation Foundation and the Business Council of Australia, the Worldwide Fund for Wildlife, and the ACTU, they have said that clean energy exports could generate $89 billion worth of new trade by 2040. And that is a lot more than what we currently export in fossil fuels. So I want to comment just briefly in that context. You know, we rely on a diaspora from many countries as a nation for our skills, our trade and our economy. And for example, India is currently the largest country source of migrants to Australia. And we do have significant skill shortages here currently. And I see dual citizenship as a core fundamental foundation stone to being able to do those things. But the government's announcement earlier this year that citizens returning to Australia after spending time in India could face 5 years in jail and a $50,000 fine was, I think, appalling, especially after they promised to get Australians home and then didn't deliver on that in a meaningful way. We need our migrant communities to help us drive deeper engagement in the region as Australian citizens, not to undermine the value of Australian citizenship by locking people out of their country in this way. We've got a plan for connection and growth. And in these COVID times where we're seeing less travel, we can't use that as an excuse to turn in. We continue to need to look out into our region. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for being members of this organisation so that we can come together and socialise and connect over these kinds of local and global trade and community issues. Part of delivering on a strong outward-looking nation where Australia has a strong role in the region is very much dependent on people like you in this room today. And I look forward to continued dialogue and cooperation with you all. Thank you very much.
Question to you, Liz. Question for you. Pretty much like what you have put in the table, from technology to the COVID crisis, to the management and everything, the translation.
I would like us to get to zero emissions before 2050.
Of course, you have the raw material, manpower, and achievable.
That's right, and it will be in Australia's economic interest to sign up to that, because if we get stuck being a fossil fuel country only, then we will start to suffer trade barriers and other things, as you can potentially see with places like the European Union and other places. So it's critically important to get on with it.
Yeah, appreciated your optimism towards the 2050.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. We have got a very big supporter of the cause of Luis. She our member also. She always supports us and also come in the meetings. Luis, thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Now, the next speaker is our Secretary General, Dr. Vidhu Sharma. I would like to introduce Vidhu. Vidhu is the owner of Ayurveda and Wellness, Health and Wellness Clinic in Perth, a business with a social cause. She is the president of for World Ayurveda Foundation, Australia chapter. She is the Secretary General for IBC Australia, and she is the right hand of IBC. So we get a lot of support from her. Also, she is the coordinator for Australia for the World Ayurveda Congress. Vidhu is an Australian qualified educator in the field of Ayurveda, mental health, aged care, and community services. And is also the Western Australian Multicultural Mental Health Ambassador for the Mental Health Foundation of Australia. He is also a mentor and life coach for the youth, a business person, and a philanthropic who is immensely involved in promoting and supporting the community on social causes like domestic violence, mental health, and well-being, etc. Dr. Vidhu, she is currently engaged extensively in the Australian community in the fields of mental health to promote health and well-being, and as a recognition of her efforts, she was also awarded the Community Citizen of the Year Award on Australia Day 2020. Business Migrant of the Year 2020 Award, the Community Service Excellence Award 2021 for the individual recognition of her efforts in strengthening India and Australia relationship. I think she needs a big clapping. Being an Ayurveda doctor, we do anticipate to make Australia a place free of illness and violence, hence promoting health and well-being. So welcome and give you some good advice to the people here and some of your patients also here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laura. And thank you so much, everyone. I think by this time you've seen a bit too much of me, isn't it, guys? Every minute you see me coming onto the stage. Just taking your entire attention off the hydrogen and solar and the excellent presentation that Dr. Laura gave, I have just got a very, very brief presentation on Ayurveda. So I'm going to commence by first slightly telling you about what my business is, what I do. So I don't know how many of you, especially I think people of Indian origin would know what Ayurveda science is. It is holistic health and cultural and ancient heritage of India, but now very, very popular globally. So Ayurveda is the science of life, and the focus is more on prevention. There are medications, there are therapies, but it is holistic health and more focus, especially since last year, while we all are globally dealing with COVID. there's a major impact on mental health in, some way or the other for each and every person globally. So therapies and sciences like Ayurveda, they've got a major role to play. In my small effort to contribute to the community, yes, of course, Ayurveda is my passion. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree from India. And then I had a vision to promote the science of Ayurveda. And with that vision, I moved overseas. And currently, yes, I am running Ayurveda for Wellness clinic in Perth. And he's given a very good introduction, more than what I deserve. So thank you so much for that. Without much delay, I am going to just briefly talk about, because our much awaited chief guest is also here. So stress, especially stress being a silent killer, but more in the corporate and business sector. So that's what I'm just going to try and bring everybody's attention to the very fact that while we are trying and making those efforts to look after our physical health, it's very, very important to look after our mental health, which often stays neglected, right? Can I first, I know it's a business awards event, so most of the people here tonight are connected to businesses in one way or the other. Can I just have slight hands up for how many people are connected to businesses in some way? Yes, and corporate sector, when you're gonna, yeah, look at that. Yes, so can I also ask, is there anyone in the room who's never experienced what stress is? Anyone? It is a part of life, isn't it? It is a part of life. Yes. So we all know, we all have experienced. Well, I gave a presentation 2 years ago where there was this one lady who raised her hand and she said, I've never been stressed. And then we had a morning tea break and there she came running, panicking, and she said, "Oh, I thought I'm going to die." I said, "What happened?" "I got stuck in the lift." I said, "Now you know." That is what stress is, panic. Yeah, so just a bit of introduction about Ayurveda, which is the science of life and the ancient healing system. Ayurveda believes that if we all together focus and make those efforts to look our emotional, mental, physical health, we're gonna have a good quality of life. Somebody's gonna change the slide. Sorry, I don't have the pointer. Thank you. Yes, what is stress? Stress is a condition or a feeling which is experienced when a person perceives that demands exceed the personal and social resources. So whenever there's so much of pressure, where we think, yes, I cannot really cope with the situation, the pressure that we feel is what we can call stress. Now, what happens in stressful situations? So cortisol is the stress hormone that is released inside the body. So stress, the impact and effect of stress is not just felt in a hand or arm or leg or foot. Because it's a hormone, it just spreads all over the body. So we do feel the impact of stress throughout our body. That is what stress actually does. Now, what does Ayurveda have to say? Ayurvedic principles believe that we all were born with a special constitution consisting of the air content, the heat content, and the water content inside us. And we all are also, the human bodies are made up of the 5 basic elements. So the belief system of Ayurveda is while we were born with a certain constituent of these doshas, we call them, over time, the journey of life and each individual has definitely a different journey from the other person. And what's happening is there is then a gradual imbalance between the balanced state of these doshas, which is resulting in some kind of ailments or illnesses or the signs and symptoms that we all experience. So if you work alongside an Ayurveda practitioner, their trial would be to try and work alongside you and bring that imbalance to a balanced state. And automatically in the process, we start feeling much, much better. These topics, I think, are very, very common. I do get invited for, business sectors and corporate sectors to do workshops because, the management, the hierarchy, they actually feel the need and they identify how stressed the staff is. And if the employees are stressed, I'm sure all business owners or the corporate sector would admit that it will eventually impact the quality of work that the employee has to bring forward. And eventually, the organization or the company or the office, their productivity also get impact. It's important to know what your doshas are, what your constituent is, and how you can work together towards your own wellness. Right. So just some stats they're talking about. When I talk about stress, it has an impact on the mental health. So talking about anxiety, these are some stats. I think they are from 2017. 1 in 7 Australians will suffer depression in their lifetime. And anxiety, 28% of the total population suffer from a form of anxiety. More is happening since last year. We are all impacted in some way or the other. We can't travel, we can't meet our near and dear ones. So, whether we realize now or not, I think there is a huge impact on all of us. 1 or 2 people in every 100 will experience a more serious mental health problem in their life. Yes, depression might look from outside like the person is just stressed and sad all the time, but inside, if you see the second picture, there is actually a lot that's happening, right? I'm just going to go through it very quickly because I know people are waiting for the much awaited award ceremony tonight. Right. So look at that picture where, when I talk about mental health issues, definitely the most common ones are depression and anxiety. So from the surface, we all say, I'm fine. The first thing I think more for Indians, I will say, anyone asks you, how are you? The first response is, yes, I'm good. You might have a very high grade fever, but the first response would be, yes, I'm good. So mental health issues, people do say I'm fine, but look at what's happening. Looking okay on the surface, but furiously trading underneath. That's what mental health is doing to us. Thank you. So much else, please just take a quick look. I'm not going to read that. That's what's happening with someone who's got mental health problems and is dealing with more stress than they anticipated to be able to cope with. Again, I'm not going to touch this very sensitive topic, but this is one of the sort of the other end problems that mental health issues can have. So, right. Now, not all mental health problems are preventable, but there are some things we can do to look after our own mental health. Feeling good and functioning well. Think and analyze in your own self. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel well? Has anyone got any input? What is that feeling? How about when you are really dressed up in the best colors that you like, best outfits that you want to wear? Does that enhance your mood levels? Some kind of small things. I always would like to share that example. We all have traveled in planes, isn't it? Sometime or the other. Now, think about the safety instructions that are given right in the beginning. And what, just to try and recall, what do they say? The oxygen mask comes and what do they say? First wear the mask and then you can save others. So it's very important to put some self-care strategies in our own lives so that we can help our near and dear ones. For a parent, I think the most important thing would be to look after your children. But it's very important to indulge in self-care strategies, and sciences like Ayurveda play a major role to help you with that. Amen. Yes. What I'm gonna just now mention, talking about businesses and corporate sectors, something to return to a balance. Focus on why we have weekends after weekdays. So Monday to Friday, rushing, running around. So it's time to slow down, isn't it? We've got 24 hours in a day. I would suggest and advise, and I try to do it myself, at least 45 minutes to 1 hour, just looking after yourself, doing things that you would like to do. Ben can forget his Ben Morton for a while. and Ben can just try and focus on things that he would have wanted to do as an individual, forgetting his big portfolio out there, his big personality that he carries all the time. And I think that could give us the energy to rejuvenate and bounce back. That is why we have that Saturday and Sunday. 2 levels of stress management, one at individual level. I'm talking about the corporate and the business sector. So training your staff, anti-stress and relaxation programs will help. And then stress management at an organizational level. So creating a working environment which is culturally, emotionally, physically, socially safe. Your employees should feel safe. And then you will see how the productivity of your work enhances and how much you can benefit out of it. Businesses, yes, of course, they are there to make profits, but profits can happen only if you've got a team that works along well and can think in a good way. So mental health and de-stressing yourself is very, very important. So just a few things there where, because I talk about Ayurveda and I'm an Ayurveda practitioner, so those are something, exercises, meditation, Shirodhara, Indian head massage is just divine. If you haven't tried, maybe it's time for you to now try and sort of try and manage your own stress in very simple ways. Here is a list and yoga practices. I'm not in a perfect outfit, otherwise I would have done a yoga asana here for you as well. The goal of Ayurveda, perfect health, firmly rooted in a vibrant, alive body and fully awakened mind. So it's a triangle, body, mind, and spirit. I wish you all a very happy and a healthy living, everyone. Sorry, I've been rushing through my presentation, but I know the focus today is not on the presentation, it's on the IBC Award Gala, and we've got our very, very special chief guest who's arrived and who's been very patient looking at the screen and waiting for his introduction. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the presentation. And I hope in one way or the other, you will benefit out of the Ayurveda therapies if you have tried them earlier or if you try them in the near future. I wish everyone a good health and a peaceful living. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, carrying on with our evening. We now have amongst us our much awaited chief guest, Honorable Ben Morton, Special Minister of State and Minister assisting the Prime Minister and Cabinet. I would like to invite on stage Honorable Ben Morton to say a few words, and after that, we will definitely commence with the IBC Awards and presentation ceremony. Let's all put our hands together as we invite the Honorable Ben. Just a small presentation to honor Ben, and we've got a bouquet of flowers as well for him. Would you like to say a few words, please, Ben?
Well, thank you so much. These will be going straight to my wife, Asta, tonight, and she will know that it wasn't me that brought them, but I'll say that they're from you. It's great to join you tonight here at the International Business Awards. It's great to be here with Senator Louise Pratt, someone who I've known for quite some time, and Christy McSweeney, who is the Liberal candidate for Swan. What is great to be here is that I like to pay tribute to small business people. I grew up in a family. We had a small business. And as a young kid, you could see the stress, and we just had a presentation about stress, that people who employ people who take on risk, people who borrow money, people whose lives depend on sales, people whose sales then are used to ensure that their employees are paid and looked after, the risks that small business people take are not always well known in the community. So I always like to say thank you, because it is small businesses that drive Australia. And there is no more entrepreneurial group of small business people who have come here from across the seas to make this country their own, to work hard, to contribute to our nation, but to build their businesses and to employ Australians. And so it's great to be here to share this with you. There are great relationships between India and Australia, of course, $24 billion worth of trade every year. So we not only have great economic links, but also, as you know, a great cultural links as well. I'm so very proud that also on Sunday night, I'll be attending the opening of the Indian Community Centre in Willetton. A project that I was taken to a couple of years ago. It was a really bad old shed on a very big plot of land. And there was a dream, and it was right and fitting that the $2.5 million we were able to obtain from the federal government was able to make that dream a possibility as well. It's such an important facility. I'm looking forward to getting back down there. I went and saw construction, but it will be a home for a whole variety of the cultural organisations. So that's enough from me. Thank you for allowing me to come and join you tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Craig, for the flowers, and looking forward to hearing more about the winners tonight. But again, thank you so much for what you do in the small businesses you take, the people that you employ, and the contribution you make back to Australia.
Thank you so much, Ben. We do have some more presentations. So can I please once again invite on stage Louis Pratt. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all put our hands together. May I now call upon Mr. Naresh Sharma from the Consular General of India in Perth, and for him to receive a bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Mr. Naresh Sharma. Can I now invite on stage Mr. Ian, the Honorable Consul General of Mauritius, and we've just got again a bouquet to honor him as well. Please put your hands together. Thank you. All right, can I now have Dr. Dilawar Singh, President IBC, for a small presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, again, let's now clap. How was the vegetable samosa? Where is that energy? Let's all clap. Well done, thank you.
I right now present to my wife here.
Oh.
All right. What an excellent audience, and I hope everyone's sort of made friends with people who are sitting next to them, and hopefully you are enjoying the evening. Let us now progress towards the much awaited award ceremony. And I would now like to hand over the stage to Mr. Shibli Khan, who is the treasurer of International Business Council of Australia. And he would be announcing and acknowledging the winners in their respective categories, as I would also like to invite Ben to join the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Minister Morton, Senator Pratt, Consul General of Mauritius, and Mr. Naresh Sharma from Indian Consulate, and all the Indian International Business Council of Australia community present in this room. First of all, what a turnout we've had this evening. About 60 people in this room. This is the first inaugural gala award night we are doing, and what a turnout. As Minister Morton said, small business is the heart of Australia, of the economy. And you will see today a lot of small business owners are the winners. And I will give some background about them. And this would be an example to others that how it's done. Every award has a journey behind it. The moment when the person thought about the idea, he or she made an effort to put those ideas into actions, had sleepless nights thinking whether my idea will work or not, and then may have experienced failures, and then comes the success story. So in advance, a big congratulations to the award winners that I'll be declaring shortly. But we don't want to stop it there. We need more success stories next year. We need more businesses to flourish in Australia. All right, so you ready? The first winner in small business category, and as Senator Pratt said, our role is very important to save the climate, and that goes to EPC Solar from Canberra. I'm like Mr. Hughes. We have somebody from EPC Solar Canberra, Mr. Hughes. Maybe in quarantine, so. All right, I'll give you a quick background of EPC Solar. They are leaders in renewable sector, founded by Mr. Dan Stokes in 2015. They undertake EPC projects. They are targeting their turnover above 100 million in next 3 years, and they aim to have a combined staff of 150. They were recently awarded Supply Nation Accreditation Award, and they've been a diverse employer for a number of staff from different backgrounds. They are interested in working in renewable sector to help indigenous communities. So a big round of applause for EPC Solar. We also have another achiever in small business award category, but they are not from the renewable sector. This is Aamc Trading Private Limited. We have Mr. Archie from Aamc to collect the award, please. To give you a quick background of AAMC, they were established in April 2001 and they operate in education and training services. They now have operations in Australia, India, Philippines, and Philippines. They provide training in finance and mortgage sector with expanding into accounting, bookkeeping, insurance, and real estate as well. They've been a recipient of a number of international awards. So a big round of applause for them, AAMC. Let's move on to somebody who is present in this room and you've been seeing throughout this evening. I won't describe too much about Vidhu, but she's a recipient of Entrepreneur of the Year award. You've already heard her. She's a guru in Ayurveda and wellness. And I think everyone, this is a business award function, but we need to acknowledge health is wealth. And we've realized that in last 18 months, and everyone agrees with that. So Entrepreneur of the Year, Dr. Vidhu Sharma, please come to this stage. Dr. Vidhu is a qualified Ayurvedic doctor from India. She runs, as you all know from her presentation, she runs Wellness Clinic in Perth. And she also undertakes a number of community engagements in India and in Australia in collaboration with Consulate General of India and the Indian government. She has also represented in World Ayurveda Congress from Australia. She is your Entrepreneur of the Year. Vidhu would like to say something.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Shibli, and thank you, Honorable Ren Morton. Now, I am just going to steal this opportunity actually to say a few words. I know you all had enough of me, but here IBC has given me this opportunity and my few seconds or few minutes as I may call it. I would like to acknowledge a few people which I always forget in whichever events that I go. First and foremost tonight is a huge thank you to the International Business Council of Australia, Dr. Dilawar Singh. And of course, I would like to acknowledge my family. Without their support, of course, I could not have possibly done anything, whatever I'm involved in. But I would also like to share something, getting this award here tonight, it takes me back many, many years ago when I was a little girl. My role model in my life is my father and his younger brother, my uncle. So Mr. Vadhera and Mr. Vijay Vadhera, both of them I would definitely like to acknowledge tonight. Very, very successful business personalities in the city of Chandigarh that I come from. And as a little girl, I always used to admire and always used to think one day I'm going to grow up and do something as big as dad and my uncle. They are doing very successful in their own respective fields. And I graduated with the bachelor degree of Ayurveda. And as I said in my presentation, wanted to take up Ayurveda globally. Most importantly, I would like to mention the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. His vision to promote the science of Ayurveda, not just within India, but globally. And the push was such, and the huge and tremendous support that I've always received from the Consul General of India here in Perth, in whichever ventures that I have been actually indulging in. A lot of support. Thank you so much, Mr. Naresh, and thank you so much to Dandu Charandasiji, who's not here, the Honorable Consul General of India in Perth. I would also like to slightly mention about the New Zealand earthquakes. Experiencing the New Zealand earthquakes sort of totally changed my life. I halted for a moment We lost our home, we lost everything. And then I had this chat to myself and said, what is the purpose of my life? What am I doing? Going to work, coming back. I used to work for the Ministry of Social Development there. But then on, this was a promise I made to myself. I want to contribute back to the community. I want to give it back to the community in whichever small way I can and follow my passion. Ayurveda, health and wellness is my passion, and that is what led to my business venture and the establishment of the health and wellness clinic in Perth. And I call it my business, but business with a social cause, because I am involved in mental health, suicide prevention, alcohol and other drugs, domestic violence, some social causes. So thank you so much for this appreciation. And I think it will inspire me to do a little bit more than what I've. Thank you.
Thank you. As you all know, we have members internationally as well. We have a winner in small business category, Raymond Consultants from India. Is somebody online today? Okay. Somebody online? That waits for person. We also have a winner in corporate business award category, that is a turnover of more than 10 million per annum. And the winner is BVG Group. And we are based in India as well. So Mr. Pankaj will collect their award. They're not online. All right, so business person of the year. Any guesses? People in the room? No? It's VR Modi. Let's hear Bihar's story. Maybe it will motivate others. It's definitely motivated me. Bihar was born in India, and he used to help his dad in farms and small business. He moved to Australia in 2011 to pursue his master's in engineering, and he completed it from ECU. He started working in Schweppes, Pepsi plant as an engineer, but he quickly realized that this is not where he belonged, and he wanted to enter the business sector. He quit that job and he purchased Subway franchise in 2017. In his first year, he gave employment to 12 local people. He purchased his second store in 2020 and another franchise of Sombrero sandwich in 2020 as well. So in 3 years, he became the owner of 3 stores. He's got 2 more Subway franchise in pipeline to come in 2022. His turnover grew by 300% in 2020, and it was 2.9 million in 2020. He is a live example of a young immigrant and how he achieved success in a short time. He credits his wife and his family for their continuous support. And he also employs up to 50 staff now across his business chain. He is your business person of the year 2021. Congratulations, Bilal. This is our inaugural awards night. And we must acknowledge that IBCA was formed in 2019. We are a young business council, but given the experience, the talent, and the background in business, we are very experienced. We're not that young. But with IBCA came into, we must acknowledge that this council came into existence due to efforts of one person, and that is the founder, Dr. Dilawar Singh. So we would like to give a trophy of appreciation to Dr. Dilawar Singh, and I would request Honorable Minister to present a trophy for his continuous efforts in bringing up this business council.
Thank you very much for IBC, and it is coming as a surprise to me. I think these efforts and they are recognizing my service for IBC. Thank you very much. We have got one more surprise, and like me, the person also don't know what is going to happen. So now I declare the name of Suli Khan as the best service to IBC. So we have to facilitate. Suli Khan is the treasurer, as you know, for the organization, and he works day and night to make it happen. And also he is after the members, asking them to renewal of their membership. So he is doing a great job for the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shibli, and thank you so much, Dr. Flower, and thank you so much, Honorable Ben Morton. Yes, just one more. I know you must be tired. One more very special presentation, ladies and gentlemen, for the consular head that we have here from the Indian Consulate General. Please, can I invite Mr. Naresh Sharma on stage? Yeah, Ben.
I think this is a wellness drink.
Thank you so much. I think one more round of applause first for our chief guest and also for everyone else in the room and the award winners as well. Can we have a big round of applause? And one more thing that I would like to say is, as a small token of appreciation for each one of you who has actually given up their very, very precious evening and their time for attending the awards and the gala tonight, a small token from IBC. As you would have seen, there are small golden trophies in front of each one of you. Please, this is for you to take home. So what IBC is trying to acknowledge is that everyone here tonight is an award winner in their own way. So please accept that on behalf of IBC. And thank you so very much, everyone. The evening still continues, so it's not the end. We'll have vote of thanks a bit later. There's more to come. There's lovely food that you have to enjoy. And I would also like to acknowledge my very, very supportive husband, Mr. Amrit, who's here and who's also a part of the executive committee of IBC. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah, we have to listen to some of the speakers. First, the right? Now I invite Mr. Yan Vitakar. I invite now Vijay Sharma as a speaker to best speaker. I think this is one of them for me also as a speaker. Okay, now I invite Mr. Vinas to give a small presentation on business and just for 2 minutes before we go for dinner. Good evening, all of you.
Evening.
Yeah. So, my name is Avinash. I'm representing Chinipa International. It's basically new startup related to mega green factory. I am 20 years of experience holder, and a couple of years ago I was in India. I'm working as a senior manager in sustainability